Hey guys, it's Merrick, and I've got another gameplay commentary for you today. In this one, we are playing Planetside on VS and using the Maw. It's got a pretty standard loadout here. The big changes are that, for some reason that I didn't really pay attention to, and I didn't notice till afterwards, I have soft point ammo on the Maw. I did actually play with soft point, I just don't normally. Feel free to take it or leave it. And I also have sensor shield on this time, as opposed to survivalist. I had intended to go do some around the side fighting today, and then the only fight that was available was a straight up frontline fight, and I just kind of never adjusted it because, well, I was into the fight and you'll see how it goes. I'm also running flak armor over my munitions suit, which is really good when you're trying to avoid dying to nades in these kind of fights. It can kind of suck when you have to reload the decimator so much if there are maxes. And before I forget, even though it's out of order, I am running the forward grip on the Maw, even though the Maw has a great hipfire, because I plan on shooting at things that are very far away because I'm me. The only fight that was available when recording was a fight at the Ascent, and it pretty much never moved. So this entire video is going to be taking place at the Ascent, and with all of that out of the way finally, let's get into the video. As I'm getting over to the Ascent, VS is just setting up again after getting pushed out, and Blue has actually cut off half of the people inside from us out here with a few people in the tunnels. So, the only thing that I can do really is to take a few deaths as I try to push through here, because the only thing you can do once you're in these tunnels is commit to the fight. There's no way to really back up, there's no cover to take. If I take a fight and then somebody else shows up afterwards, or 2 people or 3 people, I'm already committed and I just gotta do what I can. I could wait for more VS before I tried to push, but that would also allow time for more NC to set up here. It would also make it a lot easier to deny us with AoE weaponry and such, and could make this a lot harder. If I can keep bleeding people out, I can potentially stop them from building up. So I continue to push, even though I'm not necessarily taking the best trades, and we do eventually manage to push through and get back into the caves. Looking down at the tunnel they were using to block us, I see that we actually have people setting up on it, so I rotate farther into the cave, hoping to find some people that will be leading in slowly as they try to stop us. Turns out the people that were left here from the previous push were actually still holding, and just everybody that was flanking around that last tunnel was just blocking us and didn't know this whole flank was here. They could have collapsed this whole thing and this fight would have been incredibly different. But with VS now set up on every tunnel mouth, and our numbers actually growing, this becomes kind of a frontline stalemate fight, where it can be really awkward to know how to move and what to do, so that's basically what we're going to be doing a lot with today's video. In an ideal world, you'll be able to find a solid piece of cover with a tight sight line that doesn't allow a whole lot of people to peek you at once, and doesn't have a whole lot of flanks. The more people that are in the fight, the less likely you're going to find one of these, if they even exist, and the more likely, if you do find them, you're going to be dealing with people that are swinging wide out into complete no man's land with no cover in an attempt to get kills. Those people might be annoying, but it is exactly those people on the other team that you are going to be farming. It's one thing to survive in these fights and do well in farm, it's another thing to actually be able to try to push through and break them. An organized group would look for a lull in pressure and then try to get a counter push if they wanted to break one of these things. If you're playing solo or in a public setting, you're not really going to have people organized enough to do that, so generally you're just going to be farming people until somebody gets tired enough to go blow up their Sunder and ruin everybody's fun. The most important things when farming in these fights though, if you cannot find a piece of solid cover just to sit your ass on and let them swing into you, or if there are people like this pushing up way farther than they need to, is to make sure that you take short, limited engagements, rotate out before you think you need to, and make sure that you are full ammo, full health, and full shield when you go for it. The more you are able to maintain these things, the better it'll go for you, and right about now, gameplay-wise, is where I got a much better feeling and sense of the fight, and I was able to rotate around a little better, so we're going to get some better examples of how to properly farm in these kind of engagements. I'd like to note that my burst fire is incredibly sloppy here, and it gets a little bit better, but the better burst fire and shot control you have, the better you're going to do, because you need to hit the headshots to make sure you're getting the final blows. And because I don't have cover here, I'm staying as far away from the angle as I can. I'm a little overextended if I want to be nitpicky. I could have played a little tighter, but I'm excited, and this isn't exactly terrible, but I'm also using allies for cover because there's no solid cover. I would not be that far out by myself if I was looking into a tunnel full of red people. One of the biggest threats when doing these kind of fights is getting flanked from another tunnel that might not actually be holding up its weight. That tunnel has so many people on it that I'm actually having trouble finding kills, so by rotating off to the other tunnels, I am both making sure we don't get flanked, and if I'm able to rotate along with the pressure of the enemies, I should be able to be in the tunnels where they are pushing most of the time to get the most opportunity for kills. Because the minimap doesn't show things super far away, you'll never know how the flow of the fight and where the pressure might be shifting to unless you actually rotate and look around. Had I not rotated around, I would not have pushed out and caught these 4 or 5 people off guard, and they instead might have made it into the tunnels and gotten a slight flank. I could stay here and just wait this tunnel out, but considering I just killed a bunch of people here, there's more likely to be pressure on other tunnels, so I continue to rotate around yet again. Approaching this tunnel and seeing that it's under pressure, I take up a position behind some solid cover, and I try to hold the corner. At this moment, I remember glancing down and feeling like there's a lot of pressure on this tunnel, but looking at it in the actual replay, it's all these blue dots I'm seeing are actually along the bridge outside. I'm expecting, when I was looking down in-game, them to have all been pretty much in the tunnel mouth, and that's why I was pre-firing, expecting people to begin to pressure in and push through the tunnels. But once I got a proper look at the minimap and I saw that they were on the bridge and that road outside, I tried to rotate down, but I was way too late and way too slow on the uptake, and we've actually lost another Sunder. Pushing down the tunnels is just as stupid an idea as pushing up the tunnels, and this time I don't actually have a respawn. So I'm slowly backing up while trying to bleed out people that I am expecting to be pushing into this angle. When I don't see anybody show up immediately, I get kind of greedy and I'm really tempted to push down, but if I do so and I die, I could be out of this fight forever. So I continue to maintain a distance and hold the angle as hard as I can. I see an infill run by, and then I see another wave of people pushing out, and that means that I definitely made the right choice here. I also, now that I've seen the infill, can't exactly blindly stare here and hold this angle. If I do, I'm just going to get shot in the head as he instantly leaves stealth shooting. The answer is more rotating. If I rotate to other tunnels and come back, there's a chance that I will catch him pushing up that tunnel. Although now that the Sunder is dead, not a whole lot of them seem to value that bottom tunnel, and this upper tunnel's got a lot more pressure. Rotate far away from the tunnel because I don't have anybody there to really cover for me, and I was low on meds. Thankfully, as I'm coming down here though, I see another Sunderer pulling up, so I feel more comfortable to actually hold this position yet again. I'm also not gonna lie, reviewing this gameplay right now, I feel like I made a really bad strategic choice. I'm down here helping to secure the Sunderer, which didn't actually seem to be under a whole lot of pressure, but the tunnel that I rotated away from seemed to have been under quite a lot of pressure, which is actually why I rotated so far away. It's almost like once I saw the Sunderer, I just forgot about the people that were following me, and even though it didn't wind up manifesting in a tunnel crash, I think that was just a bad strategical decision by me, and once I saw the Sunderer, I should have just reset and come back up to this tunnel to try to hold. I did manage to put some more pressure on this tunnel, I got murdered by a teammate, and I did some more rotating around without actually finding a whole lot. There was a large amount of pressure on all three tunnels and a large VS response, so I really wasn't getting a whole lot. I started having to push up pretty far to get something done. When doing that, you got to think about it very similarly to how I was talking about the cover earlier. People are going to swing farther from cover to get an opportunity to get an engagement faster, and basically your teammates become both cover and a problem, because they are going to swing out in front of you to try to get kills, which can, honestly, can get both of you killed. I don't have the time to explain the intricacies of desync in here, but basically they'll kill you and your teammate for essentially free before your teammate gets to shoot, and your teammate will eat your bullets. It's a really shitty situation. It's something you have to be worried about, something you have to be mindful of when you're pushing up and trying to be aggressive in tunnel fights. So fucking annoying when happening. Also, this is a perfect example of when to rotate off of a tunnel if you're holding in a situation like this. If you have a dozen or more people staring down the same hallway and shooting at the end of the hallway without anybody actually peeking out to be shot at, it might be time to consider rotating somewhere else. And it's a good thing that I did, because no sooner did I get around the corner than I started to see that the upper tunnel actually collapsed and there were blue people leaking in. I get a flank on a max, but I don't get the kill because I don't have mutant suit and I'm stupid and don't reload my decimator, but we did manage to secure this upper tunnel yet again. Doesn't seem like anybody's pushing in, and we have a few VS here to hold it, so once nobody actually pushes for a minute or two, I just rotate off. And getting back over here, it looks like TR actually got to push pretty far up this hallway. I don't know what the hell happened, but it's a good thing I rotated back when I did. So my cheese didn't work, I didn't get the almost potential free kill off of the decimator, but I'm pretty much following all of the rules I've already talked about. I'm relatively near to cover, I'm not super far out in the open being crazy exposed, my position gives me a good sight line with not a whole lot of angles I have to deal with at once, and anybody that walks out into those angles is going to have a much harder time seeing me than I will seeing them. I'm not exactly doing terribly right now, but my burst fire could really use some work. I'm getting very excited at all the potential kills in front of me, and I'm not really respecting the 3-round burst. But I see an ally go down, and it looks like there's somebody off to the side tunnel, so I quickly rotate through there and get a good push, catching these guys off guard, and I'm actually able to clear the entire tunnel. As I'm backing off, I saw a few more people at the end of the bridge, and it looks like there might be some people trickling in here, and some more potential for some kills. So I try to lurk around and hold the position. Someone down there with great skill is spamming a grenade launcher, so I back off the corner, but somebody walks up trying to do it again, and I push up knowing that he won't have another grenade launcher ready. I'm able to get the punish, but I don't believe I'll be able to retake that tunnel, so I actually just fall back off to hold on the red angle yet again while blue builds up over there. Unfortunately, red seems to be doing their own thing as they're now pushed farther out of the tunnel and they're not really at a good spot for me to peek, so I move back to fight blue on their entrance through this tunnel here. I'm able to get a solid push through the tunnel again, and yet again I push right out to the bridge to try to get anybody else trickling in. Having been comprehensively outskilled on that front, I actually just rotate to a different tunnel when I get up and try to hold there. I try to stay back because it actually looks like a very fragile hold despite all the people here, because before I could even finish speaking about it, they all ate a nade up front and died. Then they push up yet again to eat a few more nades and die yet again. But, considering the point doesn't actually completely collapse, I do rotate off and back to the other fights that are actually happening. Seems like blue was getting a little giddy with people being gone, so I head over there and try to deal with that again. They get cleared out before I get too much more done, so I wind up rotating back and forth between this and the lower point against red until I actually find something to do. All of these lashes are just the epitome of high-skill gameplay, and they really elicit counterplay from the other team, so winds up that the upper blue tunnel is where I find my fight. I'm able to get a handful of pickoffs on the bridge without really much in the way of being contested. They had some long-range AoE they'd lob down here, but it really didn't do anything, it didn't really take much damage, and as I rotate around, I don't really find much else. The Lasher chorus is still downstairs, making sure that there is no gameplay capable in that doorway. The blue side up here is kind of drying up, so I rotate back to the other side of the tunnel to see if there's anything else going on. The engagements weren't incredibly long at some points, but over these next few scenes, we actually wind up ending at 58 kills in 22 minutes. As I said at the beginning of the video, this is another really large fight, which is a lot of what Planetside has going on anymore. There's not a lot of really well-balanced fights that are out in the open all the time. Sometimes you gotta make do with what you got. But I do hope I was able to give some decent examples of how to participate in these fights without actually getting blown out, how rotating is important, even if you're not necessarily pushing a flank to collapse or kill the fight, and giving you some ideas of how you can move around in these fights and, I actually hope you got something from these. So, as always, thank you for watching. I hope you guys got something from this video. Please let me know what you do like, please let me know what you don't like, please let me know what you think, so I can improve these going forward. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you guys next time.